Hi, Yulia. Yulia.
Yulia. It's like Julia, but with a
Oh,
Y.
Yulia. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm
Gotcha.
from Ukraine. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I typically begin these by asking, how many of my typing sessions have you seen before?
I have seen maybe like about four, but I didn't finish all of
Okay.
them.
Cool. Um, and how long have you been into cognitive functions typology for?
For quite some time. The first time it was introduced was about I think 10 years ago, and then I kind of let it go, and then I came back to it last June. So I was kind of more into so
When you
more
were
familiar.
first when you were first introduced, did you just get MBTI and not cognitive functions? Then when you came back, you discovered cognitive functions.
That sounds about right.
That's what
I
happened
also
with me.
Yeah, yeah, that's and I also kind of took, you know what? I also did the Russian version, the Science, because they use that more,
hmm
and then and it was. I'm like at that point, I'm like, oh, this is a lot. I really like need to put some time to learn this, and I wasn't ready for it. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Cool. Okay, can you tell me about which year was better for you? The year when you were 12 years old, or the year when you were 13 years old?
let me see. Okay, so it's 12 of this. 11, 12. I would probably say the year that I was 13 years old. Probably, yeah, it was probably better for me.
And why?
Well, because when I was 12, I was in seventh grade, I believe, and when I was 13, I was in eighth grade, and eighth grade was better for me socially, I
Okay,
feel like.
all right. um, do you have a plan, like a 2 year plan, 5 year plan, 10 year plan, or anything like that going on?
I I am very, I really do think a lot about the future. I am very future oriented. There are long-term goals that I would like to accomplish for myself. Um, I don't have clear 5-year plans. I just have like a goal, kind of like a goal type of thing happening in my head. And as I found in my life, it doesn't go as I planned, so I just give up on that. I try to be a little easier with myself.
Hmm. Um, when you make a mistake that makes you mad at yourself, what kind of mistake is it?
Okay. I would say I get a little bit upset when I at work when I get a little bit too rough. I feel that I express myself a bit rough sometimes with people. And also when I feel that I missed a certain part, like when I was thinking about what could be and how I would foresee things, and I miss things because I get, I idealize it or whatever. So that's probably another one when I miss something.
Okay. Do you think that most people in the world, if you were going to describe a problem that they have, is it that they don't know enough before they act? They wait too long to act because they expect to know too much, or they think about the possibilities too long and therefore deliberate beyond the point where action is useful.
Is between second and third. I get really bothered actually by inaction sometimes. I feel that you just maybe just try doing it.
Do you do any kind of like workout regimen, like physical exercise of sorts?
I tried. There was a time when I had to. I'm really horrible at motivating myself to do any physical work. I like swimming. I really enjoy swimming though. That's probably the one that I really like.
Is one of your bucket list items to swim across the English Channel?
um, Maybe not the English channel, but I think I would be probably happy to do it. But realistically speaking, that's not gonna happen.
Okay. What kind of media do you typically consume most? Is it informational videos? Is it music? Is it entertaining videos, TV shows, movies, plays?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of those. I definitely like information if it's a topic that I'm interested in. Um, and I do like theater, but not like you can't really go to live theater now. And I like some music, but I'm very particular about the music sometimes. You know,
So somebody gave you tickets to a performance of Oklahoma. You know the play Oklahoma.
I think I've heard of it.
Okay. Oklahoma, where the wind comes rushing down the plain.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Would you attend it if you got free tickets to go see Oklahoma?
I mean, yeah, it's an experience. I mean, sure.
Okay. Um. Uh. How upset are you at the behavior of the people in Luhansk?
I'm sorry.
How upset are you about the Russian annexation of part of Ukraine?
Oh, I am very upset about that.
I
I'm
don't
very,
blame
very
you.
upset.
I'm very
Yes,
upset
I'm
about
very
it
upset.
too.
I'm so happy that you agree with me.
Yeah, you guys should have kept your nukes. You never should have trusted the United States of America to take care of you.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
The Minsk protocols are a blemish on the history of all goodness and truth.
I agree.
Anyway, um, okay, so uh, I'm gonna do a kind of a word association game with you. Which first I'm gonna ask you to do regular word association. So I say girl, you say the first word that pops into your mind is probably boy, like that kind of thing. Okay.
Right. Good.
All right. Beach.
Breasts.
Tomcat.
Uh, Jumping.
Okay. And avocado.
Oily.
All right. Now I want you to do a personal relationship with each of those words. The first one is beach. So you might tell me a story like, one time when I was 14 years old, I went to the beach and almost drowned or something like that. But it should be an actual story.
Okay. So beach. When I was little, my parents often take me to the Black Sea. I'm from Kiev, but we would fly out to the Black Sea. And when I was little, I apparently, according to my mother, I used to like to walk around and beg people for food. I don't know. I don't know. She said that I would just kind of wander around the beach and come back with like cucumbers because I really like cucumbers. So I suppose that I probably just, asked for things. So that's kind of what I think about when I think beach. I think fruit, free food, and I think like apricots too, because I see apricots.
Okay, how about tomcat?
Tomcat. I don't think I don't have a story with a tomcat, but I have a cat who is like a Maine Coon type of cat, and like I kind of always imagine this kind of crazy, kind of wild, behaviors, and so I imagine this irrational, crazy, jumping around, looking for things to do. So that's probably my association with that. Yeah.
Okay, and how about avocado?
Avocado. Okay. Well, I have gone to this. There's a place not too far from my house where there's a bunch of like new shops that opened, and they have this place called Avocaderia. So it's all like avocado stuff dishes, and I really wanted to try it so bad. So I went and I got myself like an avocado smoked salmon kind of sandwich, and I really enjoyed it. And I also got an avocado milkshake, which wasn't bad, but then I felt like I couldn't move after that.
That's too much avocado for sure.
Too much. I overdosed on avocado. I do that.
Okay, now I want you to come up with 3 word association for me.
Okay. Just to ask you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, how about hen?
Chicken.
Okay. How about uh, 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 um, rebellion?
French.
Okay.
Mold.
Okay. And another one is Jello.
Okay. Now the real reason I ask those questions is because I want to know your process of coming up with 3 words to ask me about. Because I'll tell you my process. The first one I did was beach, which is a word I've used before in this test. The second one was tomcat, because I saw Trouble walk right here, like this tomcat who comes to get fed, which I'll get up in 1 second and feed him actually. But and then the third one is an avocado tree right there that I'm looking at. So that's where
Okay.
I got my ideas from. A past one that I had before, and 2 things that I saw in front of me. What was your process of coming up with things to ask, to words to use with me?
Okay, hen. I'm actually sitting parked outside of work, and there's this little mini kind of farm-looking thing, and there's this chicken that walks around. It's really fat, and it bothers me. So I was thinking about, and I see this chicken all the time, and I have a serious problem with it. So that's one. It's just too fat. It can't be that fat. The second one was the rebellion was because we were just talking about Ukraine, and I was thinking of the Orange Revolution and the protests. Um, and the third one that I asked was Jello, was because I was thinking that I'm kind of thirsty, and I remembered that my son had a Jello yesterday, and I like how it felt. So
Yeah, Jello's kind of neat, huh? I said mold because people will often put Jello in a mold, you know.
yeah, no,
Okay, yeah. I didn't mean mold like the kind that grows on gross stuff. Okay, anyway.
I did think about that for a second. I was like, wait, okay, yeah, hey.
Yeah. Okay, so interesting. Do you perceive yourself as somebody who understands the world through observation or experience?
Um, I think both. I think both. I think I could definitely see things in both. It's both are important to me. Experience is important to me. Observation is important to me, especially when I walk into a new environment. It's very important for me. I can't. Sometimes I get very distracted by things that I see. Um, and experiences. Maybe I want to try out if my observations are correct.
Okay. When explain to me why some people are mean.
Oh, there's different reasons. They can be mean because they have had negative experiences in life, and they see you and they associate you with somebody or something that they don't like. They can be mean because they could just be mean spirited because maybe they're having some kind of mental health issue, so they can't control their emotions. They can be mean because they are having a bad day that particular day. They can also be mean because they're stupid sometimes, in a sense that they don't always. Sounds horrible, I know, but sometimes, but maybe they just don't understand certain
It
things.
doesn't sound horrible to me.
People are stupid. People bother me sometimes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you now to break down the task of brushing your teeth into 6 steps, where the third step is take the lid off the toothpaste.
Okay. Okay. So put on water. Um, Pick up the toothpaste. Open the cap. Take brush. Oh, I forgot the other ones. Take brush. Oh man. Just put it on your. Can you just put it on your without the brush? You can just put it directly without the brush. Don't take the brush. Put it on your teeth
Uh huh.
and then rub it with your finger, and then wash it out. There you go.
Okay, that's pretty good. Well, what? I mean, you could have just said, take the cap off the toothpaste. Step 4, put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Step 5, brush your teeth. Step 6, rinse your mouth out.
Oh yeah, that's true. I could have done that, but I was thinking about yeah.
Okay. If you have a temporary job for one day that you have to do, and you get a choice, you get to either deal with customers who are complaining on the phone, or go around the office building and fix all the broken gate latches. Which job do you want?
No, I think I'd probably prefer the complaining more. I mean,
Okay.
it's more fun.
Let's say I'm a complaining customer. What's the best way to get me to be satisfied or calm down? Assuming you know nothing about what my actual complaint is.
Whew, okay, so I would probably just let you talk, let you vent for a while. Just okay, vent. Maybe I would try to reason for a little bit. Just try to reason, just kind of maybe try to explain. If I see that the reasoning isn't working, then I would just say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna connect you to the manager, and just like whomever, and just let them. Maybe somebody's better at it than I am.
How much
Because I think
commiseration are you going to do? How much commiseration? Like, how much are you going to say, oh, you poor baby, I'm so sorry this happened to
Oh
you?
no. That's not me.
That's not your
Especially if I
style?
oh no, especially if I feel like it's especially if I feel like it's petty, or especially if I feel that they're making a big deal out of it. I could react in a negative way. So, I could just kind of let my feelings show a little bit that I'm not annoyed, that I'm annoyed with that, and that's not the right thing to do. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some TI questions now. Can you tell me who my mother's husband's wife is in relation to me?
She is your mother's husband's wife.
Right.
So that would be your mother's grandmother.
Right. And all these questions are assuming everybody's only married once and all children are of the marriage, okay?
Okay.
Who is my mother's sister's son in relation to me?
He's your cousin.
Right. Okay, if some blue jays like sunflower seeds, and all things that like sunflower seeds play baseball, can we conclude necessarily that some blue jays play baseball?
Some blue jays like sunflower seeds, and everyone who likes sunflower seeds likes baseball. You said.
Yeah.
Can some yes.
Yeah, okay. If only... Let me feed this cat. He's bugging me. he keeps
Sure.
poking his head in and saying, where's my food? All right, Trouble, here I come. Oh, you things that scam you. I just cannot stop myself from eating. The reason he's named Trouble is because he's such a handsome devil. You just see him coming, you see him walking around, and you just go, "Here comes trouble."
I think so. I can just imagine it. Yeah, they can be gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, he's got that extra tomcat charm because he's got some scars
Yeah.
on him and stuff. Like
I
he
love
got into
that.
fights and stuff, you know.
I love
Anyway.
that. It makes me so excited. Yeah, I love that.
Okay, more TI questions. If either P or Q, then R, and not R, what can we conclude?
Not P or Q.
Correct. Is not P or Q the same as not P and not Q?
Say it again, please.
Is not P or Q the same as not P and not Q?
No, because one is the or, the other is and.
Okay, but if the not in front of the or is outside the parentheses, not parentheses P or Q.
Okay. Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, it's the same thing. Correct. Because it's the same thing. You're just breaking it down. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Have you ever taken any logic classes?
In high school.
Okay, cool. Did you do proofs like with De Morgan's theorem and stuff like that?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay, cool. Did you find that class difficult or easy?
I found it. No, it was not difficult, and I actually found it very interesting. That's actually one of my favorite, logic and algebra.
Okay. I had to do some extroverted intuition tests now. Can you tell me how many different uses you can think of for an empty aluminum can? Like this.
Okay. Do you want me to say them out loud or just content?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, an empty. Okay, it can be an ashtray. It can be a plant. You can plant something in it. You can pour water in it. You can. Let's see. What else can we do with it? You can connect two empty cans and make like a musical instrument with it.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a decoration out of it, connect them, and maybe paint it nicely, and connect.
Yulia, do you hate the earth? The correct answer is recycle.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you could, but not necessarily, because that actually would show that I do like Earth, because I am thinking of ways to, rather than throwing it out.
Right, reuse, renew, recycle.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I've got you narrowed down to, I think, 3 possible types here. More like, probably like 2, but more like maybe 3. Okay, so let me ask you about your relationship with procrastination.
Okay. I really work hard on not being a procrastinator, but I am a procrastinator. I need a deadline in order for me to feel the pressure. Pressure really motivates me. That's why I like my job, for example, that requires efficiency. I do like to have structure, just because I'm not able to set that for myself really well. So I appreciate when it's forced on me.
Okay.
But I am a procrastinator, yeah.
And even while you're appreciating it, do you also fight against it to a certain extent?
Yes, until the very, oh my goodness. I'll tell you, like my father, for example, my father tested as an ENTP, and I believe he might be. And he has this thing where he has this annoying thing of he has to call me 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be somewhere. And it's the thing. It's always a thing. I know it's coming. And so I avoid picking up the phone, and he knows I'm going to avoid picking up the phone. And then he gives me the whole spiel about how I'm irresponsible and this and this. And I tell him, like, but if it's not a medical appointment, if I'm going to parents' house, like, what's the big deal? The world isn't going to end, you know? Like, it's not a medical appointment. Nobody's dying.
He highly values punctuality.
Oh, yes, he absolutely does. And I'm afraid sometimes. Like, it's like I see the call. I'm like, okay, he's calling in 1 minute. He'll call it. And of course he calls. And I just ignore it. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I appreciate it. I know the use for it, but it's hard for me.
Okay. Do you do any creative stuff like write or make music or act or do comedy or anything like that?
I did theater. I did a lot of theater in college and in high school. I'm very animated. I think I like that a lot. And I am not a bad writer, but with writing, it's not as spontaneous for me, because with writing, it's like, I mean, it is more actually spontaneous. It comes in spurts. Like, I wake up in the morning with a certain phrase in my head that I have to put down on paper, and I'll write. I also don't think I'm a bad writer in general.
Do you think it's easier for you to write essays on subjects that are like either political, philosophical, topics of the day or whatever, or fiction like short stories?
I don't mind philosophical. Yeah, it's probably a little bit easier, but I can get a little rhetorical. So maybe if I have an idea for a story, that might be easier, because I can get a little bit too wordy, I think.
do you have a lot of projects that you've started and are sort of pending, or what?
I do. I have a lot of projects that I plan on starting. I have some projects that, yeah, I have a lot. Like, for example, I've got 2 nightstands that I started putting together, and I started hammering it should.
How much creativity does your job ask of you?
Not not that much. A little bit, but not that much. I'm supposed to write like behavior plans for people, so it's a little bit. It's very analytical, but it's not enough creativity for me actually.
Is
Yeah.
it boring?
Yes.
Is a lot of it having to generate bullshit?
Yes.
I did that for a while. It's a little bit
And
soul
it's
killing, huh?
no, yeah. It's also like you know what? I just feel that what it does for me is that I get very excited. You know, I want to start it. I want to do it. I feel like I could bring some form of change, and then I realize that I can't because I still have to follow a protocol, and it's and it's a government run. It's like a it's like a government sponsored thing that I do. I work with people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, and I realize that I still have to follow this protocol. And it's like at the end of the day, I could stir the waves as much as I want, but nobody's really gonna listen to me that much. That's why I want to get my own license. So I can do that on my own.
And if they have legitimate mental disabilities, chances are you're not going to make any substantial change in their being. You may make change in their life experience, but
Yes, yes, that's what I'm looking at. Now I'm talking about quality of life. Like going out, doing more things like that. Kind of in that way. But again, I mean, I understand that. I don't know. I keep on doing that to myself. I put myself in that situation, and I know what's gonna happen.
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind. I'm gonna be 37 next Friday.
Oh, you are a young-looking 37. I gotta tell you,
Oh,
I
thank
definitely
you.
thought you were in your 20s.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think you're an ENTP.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's what you were thinking too. Okay, yeah.
I will tell you. Actually, I'm gonna tell you an interesting thing about that. I was, when I first initially tested, I came up as an ENFJ, and then I took the Russian form and it was ENFJ, and then I put it aside, and then I met, I have a close friend who was really into MBTI, and he introduced me back to it over the summer, and I was like, and then he thought maybe I was an ESTP, and then we decided no, I'm an ENFJ, and I'm like, but it just doesn't. I'm not so feely, and I'm rough with people. I'm too impulsive. I can say things that are politically incorrect, and I have a hard time with that, especially living in New York. And it's just like, and he was like, no, no, but you, and I'm like, but I
The
don't
best
think so.
mistyping of you, is ESTP. You've got a lot of things that could correctly lead somebody to say ESTP. Except you're not an ESTP. You're way too wordy. You're you're an ENTP.
Yeah, you know what? And I actually, then I retook it again. I was like, you know what? Let me say it honestly. Let me do it the way I really feel. And it came out both in the Satsionics and in the MBTI. And I was telling this to my friend, and he's like, no, no. And I'm like, okay, I feel it. Like, I feel that's, the issues that I run into are there.
Well, let me explain the problem with those tests that you're taking anyway. They're relying almost exclusively on self-reporting answers, which means even if you're accurate about them, you're going to be self-reporting probably your subject self, the self that takes action in the world. But there's also the self that just knows things and observes and doesn't take action, and there's also the self that sometimes gets hit with shit. It's the object, right? And to understand how functions work and how they work in terms of the slots and in conjunction with each other, you have to test not just how people behave as a subject, but check to see how they behave agentially as well. So I checked your SI-NI, and it's smack on the 4-5, which means it's almost impossible to tell whether you're SI or NI. That's true of ESTPs and ENTPs. So that right there is one indication, okay, probably you're one of those two types. Then I checked the TI. The TI is rock solid. It's 1 or 2, which limits you to INTP, ENTP, ESTP, ISTP. You're definitely not an ISTP because your NE's off the charts for ISTP. You were a little bit more introverted than you probably normally are coming into this, since I'm asking questions and you're answering them. But I suppose if I were to ask you some more open-ended questions, that I could get some very extended answers.
That's true.
And your relationship with FI also is typically 7th slot. It's actually an absolute value for you. But if others expect you to go, oh, poor baby, you're just like, the fuck?
Yeah. I honestly get like, and this is the thing, like I could see, like sometimes when I talk to people and I could see there's certain potential and things, and I'll talk to them and I try, and I'm like, okay, I'll be empathetic and I'll be compassionate. And then at some point I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, this is just too much. Like, I can't. Too much whining, too much, like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it bothers me.
Okay, so talk to me about your ideal significant other, and in particular, how you spend time with them. So, for example, I'll give an example of an INFP INFJ relationship of two people that I know. Okay, and the INFJ will come home from work planning to do something maybe, and the INFP will say, I was really hoping we could spend some time together tonight. And I know that particular thing kind of drives him crazy. So things like that are like things that you would like the way that shit to go down, and things that you would not like the way that shit to go down.
Okay, so well, I mean, I definitely like. I like to have. I love lively conversations. I love conversations that are honest, conversations that can cross the line, but they could be rough, but they're honest. But at the end of it, we can come out knowing that we're still together, and it doesn't mean that I hate you, and you know, you're not going to remember this 5 years later that I hurt your feelings. You know, I would like somebody who has a great sense of humor. Somebody also, if, for example, when I'm feeling down, I don't necessarily want silence. Just come up with something fun. Drag me outside. Say, you know what, we're going. Like, let's go outside, we're gonna do this. Or put on a funny show or something for me, you know, to laugh. Not so much of like trying to get into my head and really try to figure out what it is. Because sometimes I don't know what it is, and sometimes I'm just in a shitty mood.
So don't try to understand your feelings. Try to make them go away.
Yes.
Good advice.
Wow, I love how you put that. Yeah, because you know what? Like, I could dig in myself by myself, you know? I just wanted to stop. Because it's frustrating. I don't like... So somebody who's very boring, or somebody who, let's say, is really difficult to... I don't like heaviness. You know, so some people can come in and they're very heavy. And like... And I could be heavy, and I can get very like that as well. But it's not a place that I want to be in for a long time. And I don't like when someone is like... When I'm like, let's come up, let's go and do something, or let's watch this. And it's like the whole preparation time takes, for like the prep time for it is a long time.
Pre-work.
And I lose interest. Yeah.
I hate pre-work too.
I hate you know what? Actually, with the pre-work, this is my issue with sleep. I was talking about this to somebody, and people sometimes find it very strange. So I hate the preparation for going to bed. The whole idea of putting on I feel like I'm like getting ready to die. You know? It's like, okay, let's turn off the lights, everybody, put on the pajamas, put our hands on our chest, and fall asleep. It is so frustrating for me that's why I have issues with sleep. That I'd rather just fall asleep wherever I am. Like, even if I'm wearing my clothes, and like, I know I just have to wake up in the middle of the night and transfer myself maybe to be more comfortable, but I'd rather that than the whole prep work, you know? So, to be
because once your prep work, well, then you set expectations for yourself that you're supposed to follow through on. Well, I guess now I'm supposed to go to sleep, right?
Yeah. Exactly. But it's also this whole idea of like, let's sleep now. Like, it bothers me, you know? Like, what is that even? Why? Like, why does it have to be like this? Why can't it be more natural?
Do you often or always talk to yourself, the collective, like that? Like, I do that all the time. Yeah, like, let's go to the store now. Like, me and the other me and the third me over there.
Yeah. I do that quite often, I think. Yeah, I do.
It's like there's a little party of selves within you that you're talking to, right? There's the main self that's giving instructions. Then there's the real self that's fighting against those instructions.
Yeah, about ourselves.
Yeah. So, when you were a little kid, did you used to imagine yourself giving lectures to people, to groups of people?
Um, you know what? Sometimes, but then this is the thing. Like I could do it, but again, I will get my issue is the boredom. I have a serious issue with that. So yeah, I could do that, but if I'm gonna see like a stupid or dumb expression in someone's face, and I'm gonna realize that it's pointless, like okay, like I'm not gonna continue pushing through, you know. But sometimes I do like that.
Okay, so at what point did you realize that people often didn't understand you?
At what point? It doesn't, you know, I realized that I think pretty early on, I realized that probably even in my like maybe late teens, early 20s, I did realize when I was younger, because my parents were super strict with me, they were both teachers and I had no room to really be this, you know, I had to kind of do things. And they were teachers, so you could imagine. It was like, sit here, stand there, breathe this way, breathe that way. It was kind of rough, you know. But I realized it pretty early on, but I still fought against it. You know, there's still a part of me that wanted to fight against that kind of feeling. Like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a little bit, maybe I don't present myself honestly. Maybe I'm too rough, which I don't think so. You know, but I did. My ex-husband told me once, and this is what I remember, it was like 15 years ago. He said to me, when are you going to learn? Like, you're sitting here and watching you talk about this thing about, I was talking about astrology, maybe, I think, about, or like the idea of like, it was some kind of spiritual topic that I was having. And he's like, did you see her face? And my ex-husband is an ESTP. He said, did you see her face? She's not interested. Why do you keep on doing that? And I was like, well, because maybe it's going to broaden her understanding of things. And he's like, but she doesn't give a shit. Like, why?
So, okay, I used to be married to an ESFJ too. What ultimately split you guys up, if you don't mind my asking?
No, I don't mind. Okay, so it was two things. He became extremely religious. He went into like it was the Judeo-Christian religion, Jews for Jesus, like a Messianic Jew. And he was pushy with it. He was pushing me too much with it. I realized I can't get in the lifestyle, and I was really honest about it. You know, I did go to church a couple of times with him for like out of respect to him, but I realized I can't live like this. Like waking up, reading the Bible, that was one. And the second factor was our intimacy. Like I feel that we weren't compatible in that, and I started like it was just, you know, that was too much for me too.
Well, you know, I can't give him the lifestyle. That's what happened with me and my ex-wife. Was she really wanted me to be this family barbecue guy who went to all these family events and liked taking pictures and was part of the larger extended family group, and I just didn't want to do that shit. I hated going to weddings. I hated going to those things. And eventually she decided that was a deal breaker, and we split up.
But it's, you know what, I don't honestly though, I don't regret it. We're still talking, you know, we have a son together, but I'm like, there's no way I could have given it. Now he's with somebody who's just like him, very similar to him, and I'm very glad.
Good for him. And yeah, I maintained a fine relationship with my ex as well. Although we don't really talk anymore because my daughter is now 22. Yes, 22. Okay. I always have to think about it for a second. So, if you were going to find somebody who provided you either the opportunity to, who was a good listener, or somebody who is good at motivating you to get out of the house and do shit, which would you prefer?
Number 2, for sure.
Okay. You don't feel like you need a good listener as a partner? Or you?
I think, no, I do like good listener is important. However, if he's a good listener but able to also share ideas with me, you know, if he's just sitting there quietly listening to me, like I can call a friend, you know, for that. At some point I'm gonna want some kind of like, just say something. What do you think? You know?
Have you dated any INFJ males?
Oh, interesting. Yes. Actually, this friend of mine now, who actually brought me back to him. Yeah, he's an INFJ.
Because, I'm with an INFJ, and I'm a big advocate of that pair up right there. That seems to work pretty well, because the INFJ is kind of delighted by our ramblings and our jokes and stuff, which is exactly what you want. It's hard to imagine, because, you see, in the world, it's easy to articulate when someone talks too much, right?
Mhm.
But it's much more difficult to articulate when somebody listens too much.
Yeah. You know what he is, and that's interesting, because that's a definite big, a huge kind of positive in the interactions between me and him, was the fact that he is like this, and he does listen, and he never dismisses it as silly or ridiculous, and that's something that I definitely appreciate quite a lot. And he can give me, I mean, he also gives feedback. The only thing is sometimes, like, what I just get bothered with that is just when it comes down to him and like his situations or some things he would talk to me about, and I'm like, okay, like I give a certain kind of options, and I feel that he gets stuck in that, NI-TI loop, and that for me is like, I would like to sometimes pull him out of that.
You got to do the SE and the TE for them if they're stuck there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had Rachel be stuck in some bad NI loops, and you got to SE the TE for them, and then they go, oh, problem solved.
Well, it's yes, the SC part, and actually I think that's why I think he might have perceived me as an ESTP at first, because it's like you come off, you're too comfortable, kind of like with yourself, and I'm like, I mean, but that's because I felt that he wasn't that, so I automatically took that upon myself, some kind of like it was an intuitive understanding that this is what I need to do, but he definitely does take a lot of my, oh my god, the talking sometimes, and sometimes, like when I'm done talking, sometimes I sit down and ask myself the question, like what compelled me? Like, why can't they just shut the hell up sometimes? And like, just
Here's the thing to remember. Okay? Here's the thing to remember. Just as it is natural for us to continue to pitch, to continue to just throw words out there, it's natural for INFJs to continue to catch. So, in other words, they're in their comfort zone when you're yammering on. When Rachel goes to sleep at night, she plays like random like spirituality YouTube videos in the background with just like some lady going, and when you release your limitations, you will be one with the. It's got some like meow meow music playing in the background, But it's just because she wants the sound of voices on when she's going to sleep. Now, that's indicative of somebody who's genuinely most comfortable receiving. So it's like I said, it's easy for us to get mad at ourselves because we're doing the thing that's easy to point out. We're talking too much. But for their perspective, we're not talking too much. They're getting plenty of opportunity to do what they most naturally do, which is receive. So it's a good relationship because of that.
Yeah, you know what? He actually said to me, he's like, I like to go, if I go to like family things with you, he's like, you're the first person that I could just be like, you know what? I could just leave her and she'll be fine. I don't have to check up on her. She'll be having a conversation with somebody. I don't have to run and be like, are you okay? Are you okay? And because he can be sure that I'll do that. And so it's interesting. And he also likes a lot of noise in the background when he sleeps. But actually, I do too sometimes. I like water. I do like that.
White noise is fine. I can't sleep when there's talking going on in the background.
No, talking I can't.
And you want to know what's really trippy is if you try to go to sleep when you're watching anime and it's Japanese in the background, if it's English, it'll start to incorporate into your dreams. But it's Japanese, so it's like you try to start to incorporate it into your dreams, then you realize you don't understand it, and it wakes you back up again. It's weird.
It's also like, sometimes it can sound pretty rough.
Well, yeah, you could always get angry Japanese man in the background going,
oh goodness, this reminds me of like when I went skiing one time. It was my first and only time because it could happen again. I went skiing and the dude was telling us like the directions or how we're supposed to ski properly. I don't know where I was at that moment, but I turned my ski the wrong way, and next thing I know, I'm like sliding down this hill. It was horrible. And as I'm sliding, I'm like, oh God. I was yelling and screaming anyway. But because I still had to do the skiing, I was like, I figured a plan for myself. I'm like, when I see the little kids in front of me, all I gotta do is grab the kid and let him fall on me rather than me falling on him. So I was doing that. It was working for me. It was working just fine for some time until I grabbed the wrong kid. Like I grabbed this kid and I fell and this kid fell on top of me. And all of a sudden I opened my eyes and I see this father. He's like standing over me and he's in German. He's like and he's going off on me. So part of me was like, okay, he was really yelling. And I'm half Jewish. My father's Jewish. And I was like, I don't know if it was some kind of like collective memory of some kind of trauma, but it was not good to be yelled by a German man. Like it did not feel good for me. I was like, okay, here, take your son, take him. I wasn't trying to hurt him. And so then I realized the next thing that I started doing was going into the bushes, you know, stop myself from falling. So it's like, yeah. So when you said that comment about like the anime, like I'm an angry Japanese man. That's what I remember. The angry German man.
Well, that's a great example of an SI association, and is indicative of SI front stack. Rachel, can you chat with Yulia for a few minutes? Just ask whatever questions you feel like asking. Chat with her for a few minutes and.
Okay. Smoke break? Smoke break?
Yeah, I just want to get your opinion as well. I think you'll find it. Just ask any kind of open-ended question, like what your hobbies are, what kind of stuff you like, stuff like that. You know, doesn't matter which way you put them on, really.
Hello.
Hi.
So, what kind of hobbies, if any, are you into? Do you have any personal interests?
Okay, so I have quite a few. I mean, my hobbies kind of they change. They tend to change and fluctuate. So before, like I was really interested in not astrology. I'm actually still interested in. I was interested in like some forms of spirituality and like healing. So I was reading a lot about that, like the alternate ways of healing, and I was focused a lot about that. Like I was actually lighting candles up and doing all of this. Now the books are kind of laying and they're dusty because I have not returned to them for a while. So, but I am still interested in astrology, specifically like natal charts. I'm really interested in that. Not like everyday stuff, but that's another one of mine that I'm interested in. The cognitive functions, of course, and the MBTI. I've been reading a lot and obsessing over them lately. I also I was thinking, I like theater, but I'm not able to do because of time. I have done theater before, so maybe even if I could do something for myself, that's something that I'm really interested in. And I was thinking of photography as well.
Oh,
I also like music. Yeah.
That's great. So, like, do you find that you'll be very interested in a certain topic or subject, and then, after you hit like a certain amount of information, that you change into a different hobby?
Yes, I do. And it's sometimes what happens is that if we're of kind of like what I would imagine I would get from it, I don't necessarily get from it, and then or I feel that I need something else in order for that to work. So yeah, I do definitely, and it's really frustrating, sometimes because I'm like I wish that I could just like I feel like if you ask them certain topics, I feel like I can say a little bit about everything, but if I talk to people, they think, oh my God, Yulia, like you know so much, and I'm like, it's kind of on the surface. Because I feel that I wish I knew more in depth. There are certain things in depth, like psychology, because that's what I do, I could talk about some mental health, like I could talk about mental disorders, but I can't, but other things, like I catch information, like I hear somebody tell me something, and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting piece of information. I should put it away for later. Should I use it? Should I need it? And then I'll spit it out in like the right time, and people are like, wow. But that's all I know.
So you gather so it's the information that you gather from other people, usually like small bits of information that they're giving you, and then you're able to repeat what that information is, or do you really do you learn more by books, or do you find that a little bit of both is where you get your information?
Deep and narrow or broad and shallow?
What'd you say?
Basically what you're asking is deep and narrow or broad and shallow?
Yeah. Deep and narrow or broad and shallow?
Oh, I would ideally I would want for it to be deep, but I think it's probably more shallow. but no, I mean there are a couple that I could talk about deeply, but I do have a lot of like shallow information because I know when to bring it up. If I'm interested in it a lot, I'll go and research more about it. So I'm like, okay, so I can know more about it just in case it gets brought up, and we can talk about it more, so I don't sound like a buffoon,
Yeah, that's actually a very good way of learning, actually, It is a little bit of everything, but if you're interested in it, I mean, as long as, in my opinion, as long as you have something to add to the conversation, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm actually interested in astrology and the metaphysics as well, but I also have a problem of practicing it and like learning more as well. So your friends, would they say that you have a good memory?
I think so.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good memory. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Want me to take back over?
Okay, time to change over. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Rachel.
Okay, so the first thing I'd note about that is in the 5 minutes or so that she was asked questions, she only really asked 3 questions. And the rest of it was you answering. I'll also say she seemed happier in this one than she sometimes does. She doesn't always, because what I'm doing to her periodically, saying, out of nowhere, come sit here and ask some questions of somebody you've never met or talked to before, and draw some conclusions from it. It's not really in her wheelhouse,
I don't mind doing the favor.
But the thing is, I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think you found this one fairly easy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And the reason is because I'm convinced that you're an ENTP. Did you encounter anything that was inconsistent with that in your conversation with her?
No, not at all. Not at all. It sounds a lot like you.
Yeah. And it was a very fun typing session as well. Do you have any other questions, concerns, queries, complaints, comments, anything like that?
No, I'm actually, this was so nice. I really, really like it so much, and I appreciate this so much. I actually, when I initially was contacting, so when I saw your schedule, I was like, okay, I looked at the time, and it said that you can call me, but I might not pick up, or text me, or email me. So I was like, I can't do emails because I'm going to be so impatient, and what if he doesn't see it? I'm like, let me just go straight to the text message, I'm like, calling is too much. He said he might not pick up, so I'm going to just text. And then I wrote something along the lines of like, after many debates within myself, I'm like, who I am, I really need to put this to rest,
Uh-huh.
And then the person responded back, it's not Eric, so I don't know.
Yeah, you texted Isaiah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the response was, I hope you find the answers that you're looking for, and I did, and I'm so grateful for that. And I wish we could continue talking because I could, there's still so much more that I want to say. There's always more.
I know. Okay, are you cool with me publishing this video?
Yes.
All right, great. So I will put this up shortly, so you'll be able to see it this afternoon. You won't have to wait.
Great. Yeah.
Waiting sucks ass. I get it.